Most professors are juggling grading, emails, committee work, discussion boards, and student issues. And somewhere in there, we're supposed to become instructional designers, media creators, and now AI experts overnight, while also creating our lesson and lecture plans. If you're stressed with too much work and not enough time, I'm going to show you the exact blueprint I use to build a strong lesson plan and lecture outline with free AI tools in under 5 minutes. And stick around to the end because I'll show you how to take that lesson and instantly turn it into slides, quizzes, flashcards, study guides, and even interactive student materials using another free AI tool. Welcome to the AI Professor. I'm Chris. I'm here to help educators make sense of AI so you can use it with confidence in your classroom. I've been teaching at the college level for 17 years, and when AI exploded, I jumped in and started to learn how to use it to make my job easier. But I also learned something important. Most of what AI produces is terrible. It's generic and fluffy. When I queried AI for help with my lecture and lesson plans, what it gave me sounded if it was written by someone who really never actually stood in front of exhausted students at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday. After using AI, I learned the problem is not AI. The problem is the prompt. Here's what most people do. They open ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini, and they type a random prompt, create a lesson plan about criminology. And the AI responds quickly and efficiently, but you get generic objectives, predictable activities, surface level lecture ideas. What you don't get is an understanding of your students, your teaching style, or your class format, and that's why grounding matters. I created the brief framework to fix this prompting issue. Now, I actually did an entire video breaking down the brief framework in detail. So if you want the full deep dive, I'll link that here on the screen. Instead of spending 10 minutes rehashing all of it again, here's the quick version. Think about AI like a brand new teaching assistant, student teacher, or an intern. If you walk into their office and say, go make me a lesson plan, you're probably going to get something vague and generic, especially from someone new to teaching and who doesn't really have a grasp on what you teach. But if instead you explain who the students are, what the class is about, what struggles your students are having, how you like to teach, and what kind of output you want, the quality will improve dramatically. Brief stands for background, role, inputs, expectations, format. Instead of AI magically guessing what you want, you're grounding it with context. So I'm a criminal justice professor. I'm going to use one of the common topics from my Introduction to Criminology course. My lecture and lesson plan topic for this week is the rational choice theory. I'm not going to give the AI some vague prompt. I'm going to use that brief framework. So my prompt is going to include background, the AI's rules. I'm going to add some inputs like my textbooks and my past lecture notes. I'm going to give it my expectations of what I want from it, as well as ask it to give it back to me in a specific format. So here's the prompt. I will start the 5-minute timer. Now, notice I'm not just asking for a lesson plan. I'm telling the AI who my students are. I'm grounding it up here by adding my textbook and my lecture notes. You could add objectives. You could add your assignments that you're planning on giving. I'm telling it how to teach, like I prefer scenario-based learning and active discussion. And I'm asking it to create a lesson plan, a lecture outline, a discussion activity that requires students to apply concepts, defend their reasoning, and demonstrate original thinking rather than simply repeating their textbook definitions, because I want my classroom activities to push my students beyond that memorization and make them be able to answer the material without just having an AI generate it for them. I'm also asking for an authentic assessment, which would be designed to measure student thinking, judgment, and real world application in ways AI cannot easily complete for them, because I still need to evaluate what students generally understand and can independently explain. And last, I'm asking it to create an exit ticket. So now let's see what happens. So as you can see, it's created my 75-minute scenario-based lesson plan. And you can see it does a pretty awesome job. Another thing that I want to explain is that you don't have to accept this as your first output. So the real power comes from chatting back and forth with the AI to refine this material. So an example for segment 2, maybe I want this activity to be more engaging. So I might ask the AI for segment 2, can you make the discussion more engaging and maybe include some hands-on activities for the classroom? And it's going to create that for me. I treat this like a brainstorming partner. The first draft's not ever going to be perfect. Sometimes it may not even be correct because AI can misunderstand concepts, or maybe it oversimplifies something that I feel in my lecture needs to be more gone over in depth. So always review, always revise, and fact check what it's giving you before you give it to the class. Once the lecture structure is built and then you redefine it, you go through it and you make it the best that it can be, the heavy lifting is basically done. This does not eliminate your expertise. It eliminates blank page syndrome. That's the real value. Instead of staring at an empty screen for 2 hours trying to figure out, how do I structure this lecture? How do I create something for engagement? Or how do I build activities? Now you have a starting point in seconds. Take back some of your time so you can have your evenings back and focus on a more important and fun things. I remember testing one of my old lesson plans in AI shortly after ChatGPT came out. And honestly, it produced a cleaner lecture outline than the one I had spent an entire afternoon building. And that was the moment I realized 2 things. First, AI wasn't going away. And second, professors who learn to guide AI are going to move dramatically faster than professors pretending it doesn't exist. That sounds harsh, but it's true. Students are already using these tools. Administrators are already discussing these tools. The workplace is already using these tools. So we can either spend the next 5 years angry about reality or learn to use it intelligently. As promised, I'm now going to show you how you can create your lecture slides for this lesson plan in a click of a button. Now, I actually did an entire video in Notebook LM because there's no way I could cover every feature in this video. If you want the full walkthrough, including audio overviews, study guides, source grounding, and student-facing notebooks, I'll link that video here. But since we're talking about lesson planning today, let me show you how to create your lecture slides to coincide with your lesson plan you just created. Notebook LM is a free Google AI tool, and this thing is wildly underrated for educators. Watch this. All right, so here we are in Notebook LM. I already clicked up here on Create a Notebook, and I'm going to upload my lecture outline from what I already created. I'm also going to add that textbook material that I gave before, as well as lecture notes on the rational choice theory. And so the beauty about Notebook LM is it only creates material based on the sources that you've added over here. And so all of my sources are currently clicked. And I'm going to now create my slide deck or my presentation. It gives you two options here. So the first is a detailed deck, and that means that Notebook LM creates a more complete slide deck with full text and details. And this option is better if you want to email the deck to students or say post it in your Canvas or your learning management system. This is where you're creating something students can read on their own without you standing there explaining every slide. The second option over here is presenter slides. And these are cleaner, more visual slides with key talking points. And this is the version I would use if I'm actually teaching live, because I don't want to stand in front of the class and read a novel off my own PowerPoint. So the choice here matters depending on what type of lecture you're going to be doing. If you want a student-facing resource, I suggest the detailed deck. If you want slides that's going to support me while I teach, I choose presenter slides. And before I generate the deck, Notebook gives me a box that says, describe the slide decks you want to create. And I would not leave that blank. I would actually type something in here, giving it some idea about what you want. I'm telling this AI again who this presentation is for, that I don't want the visuals and the slides to be cluttered, that I want key talking points, a real world example. So I am giving it a little more purpose so that it knows my audience, the lengths of the class, and the style that I want. And then you're just going to click generate. And it's generating over here on the side. So it took about 3 minutes for these slides to be created. And to take a look at them, you can click here and they will expand there. You can also download them into a PDF or a PowerPoint by clicking up here. So as you can see, wow, these are quite impressive. I am still going to want to go through and review it. And so if I find a mistake or an issue in here, I can edit these slides and tell it what I want to change. So you can click on revise here and you're going to tell simplify slide number 7. And then it's going to regenerate that slide. Some other examples might be maybe you want to add a real world example, or maybe you want to make that particular slide more visible. Maybe you want to remove extra text and keep only the talking points. So it will revise the deck without having to start from scratch. One thing to know before you get too excited and try to generate your entire semester in one click, Notebook LM currently limits slide decks to about 15 slides. That's usually enough for a short lesson or overview, but it may not be enough for your detailed college lecture. For example, I have a 75-minute lecture, so I'm going to probably not feed that entire lecture into Notebook LM all at once. Instead, I'm going to break it into chunks. So maybe the first 15 to 20 minutes of content, then I'm going to generate that slide deck, then take the next 15 to 20 minutes, generate another slide deck, and continue until I have the whole lecture built. Honestly, that approach usually works better anyway because the AI can stay focused on a smaller section of content. The slides tend to be more accurate, and you avoid cramming too much information into a single presentation. Think of Notebook LM as helping you build your lecture in sections rather than trying to complete 75-minute presentation all at once. And because each section can be revised independently, it's much easier to make corrections and improvements as you go. As promised, now you have not only your lecture and lesson plan, you also have lecture slides to go along with it in just minutes. So here's the blueprint again. Use brief, background, role, inputs, expectations, and format. Ground the AI before asking for the lesson. Refine your lesson. Ask it to tweak the parts you don't like, and then take that lesson into Notebook LM and turn it into an entire ecosystem of classroom materials in minutes. And honestly, this is the part I want you professors to hear the most. You don't need to become an AI expert overnight. You just need to stop approaching these tools randomly. If you want, drop the subject you teach down below in the comments, and I may build an example lesson plan for it in a future video. And if this video helped, please subscribe to my new channel. I'm adding videos every week that hopefully will address some of your questions. And if you have a question you wish someone would answer about AI in your classroom, drop me a comment. I'm happy to attempt to answer it and give you the best option. See you in the next video.